right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. You are at the Arizona Commerce Authority State Broadband Office webinar today for the pre-registration guidance, specifically for our tribal nations and communities. So thank you for making time to join us. We expect this to be about an hour, maybe an hour and 15. It will be recorded. I think it is recording now, and we will put that on our website, and we will share out the deck from this presentation as well. So before we get started, let me do a little bit of housekeeping items here for you. Your questions and answers should go into the Q&A box. You've got both a chat, but a Q&A. The Q&A is where we need all the questions to go. It's just as easier for all of us to monitor and keep an eye on that. Everyone has access to see all of the questions, and you can also upvote other questions as they come in. So if you agree with one question that's been posted, you can upvote that, and that way we know there's other interest in that question as well. I will ask, though, now that I've said that we're not using the chat for questions, I will ask you to put in the chat right now your name and the tribal entity that you are representing today. So the tribal nation or community or enterprise, if you could plug that into the chat, and we will do introductions ourselves as well. But again, want to thank you for making time. This is an exciting time. Our round 2 application is about to open, so we are here to answer all the pre-registration questions and provide some guidance that should hopefully make it easier for you as you navigate this. All right, so in the chat, if you could please add those details for us. Thank you, David. We've got Fort McTowell Yavapai Nation with us. Really appreciate that. In fact, I think we've got a visit next week. All right, so looking for others, if you can post that in the chat, that'd be great. Meantime, I'll start with introductions for us and the team here. My name is Kelly Crucy. I'm the Broadband Community Engagement Manager for the State Broadband Office here at the Arizona Commerce Authority, and I am joined by a few others, so we're going to popcorn, and I will toss it to Okasana.
Good afternoon, Okasana Beatty, Tribal Liaison with Arizona Commerce Authority. Happy to be here.
Keith, how about you?
Hi, Keith Watkins, Senior Vice President of Rural Economic Development with Arizona Commerce Authority.
Thank you, Keith. And Jason.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Aloya. I'm with Ready.net, and I run what we call the platform, and that is the software that is hosting the pre-registration and BEAD application process for the state of Arizona.
Thanks, Jason. We'll get a demonstration today on the portal from Jason, so thank you for being here. And then last but certainly not least is Nick. Nick, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Kelly. Nick Capozzi, State Broadband Director here at the Arizona Commerce Authority. Thanks for joining today.
All right. Thanks again. So for those of you just joining, if you haven't already, please plug your name into the chat and let us know what tribal entity or enterprise you're working with. That is very helpful to us as we answer these questions and think about your specific needs. And then again, any questions as we progress, you will put those into the Q&A box. And like I said, everybody has access to see that, and you can upvote any questions you might have. That said, let's go ahead and dig in. Here we go. All right, so today we will do an quick overview of the BEAD program, the timeline, where we are right now and what's coming up. And then we'll do that portal demonstration with Jason. And then we'll take a look at that pre-registration process and then answer the questions that you've got. We know that there are questions, and this time is designated specifically for the tribes in Arizona so that we can answer them, because some of the information that you'll be sharing is different than what the ISPs or non-tribal entities will provide. All right, so looking at the BEAD program, the overview, you all are familiar with BEAD. This has been around for a few years. I'm sure you've all been involved with this for a while, but the ultimate goal here is to provide universal access for households within the country. Essentially, we are taking that money that was provided to us from the IIJA, the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. 42 billion was provided to the nation. Arizona's allocation of that is $993 million. So almost $1 billion to implement broadband, reliable, high-speed internet in the state. and it goes to the household level. So we identify households and businesses that are eligible as BSLs. Those are the broadband serviceable locations. And those BSLs, we also have the CAIs, the community anchor institutions. So as we are working through this, the goal here is to connect all the BSLs and also include as many CAIs as possible. So here we've got two areas to look at in the brown, orange, rust colored section, the broadband deployment on the left. This is again aiming to serve or provide high-speed internet to the unserved and the underserved areas within the state. And we're looking for specific speeds with that. And I know everyone's familiar with this, so we'll go through this quickly. We're looking for 25 by 3. That's the minimum speed for unserved locations. And then the underserved locations would be 100 by 20. We've got information here about what CAIs are, the community anchor institutions, and those are the areas that serve the entire population, the entire community. So for instance, your library, your hospital, a place where you can go and access Wi-Fi or internet, and it's reliable and high-speed internet. And then also, just for FYI, the state and local government facilities across the state and nonprofits, those are also considered CAIs as well. And then in the blue on the right section, you've got your criteria for the eligible project areas. So as you are considering your applications and going into round 2, every eligible unserved and underserved BSL has to be included in your application. And then extra points are given to those who also include CAIs. So as you're looking at your projects, if you're including those CAIs, those will score higher for your application. And then if you are working with a partner, so for instance, there are entities that will partner together to submit an application, we need one lead subgrantee. So once that entity is determined as the lead, that's who will submit the pre-registration and the application. And then also the project areas can be grouped together if they are reasonably adjacent. Our timeline here, so I mentioned before, round 2 opens June 3rd. That is coming up in less than a month, so we're talking a matter of weeks here. So we really want to make sure that the pre-registration is getting done as soon as possible. Pre-registration is a lot of information collecting, and there are a lot of details in there. We want to make sure that that's done early so that when June 3rd does roll around, you can focus solely on that application because it is a 30-day application window. So this timeline here outlines a number of things. We've got the pre-registration. Pre-registration opened on November 4th, so it has been open this entire time, and it will close on June 30th. Now, if you look at the dates here, June 30th is just a few days before the application round closes. So we recommend, again, finishing before June 3rd so that you have that full 30-day window to get that application done. If you were an applicant in round 1 and you already completed your pre-registration and you have been approved, you do not need to do pre-registration again for round 2. So pre-registration is one and done. Applications are both. If you can submit applications in both rounds, but that pre-registration is just once. All right, and just as a quick reminder for those just joining, if you have questions, please put them in that Q&A chat and we will be sure to get to them. So round 1, as you know, is complete. We are still working through the review, the negotiations. So the dates there, that opened on January 6th and closed on March 7th. So now until the end of the month is where we as the office, the reviewers, evaluators are going through and working with those applicants to discuss those areas and determine, which applications are accepted and which ones will be moving forward. Round 2 again opens June 3rd, and after that, so the intake period is 30 days until July 3rd, and then beginning the week of July 4th is when we will start doing the review and the negotiations all the way until September. So typical questions that we get, especially right now, is when will we know what areas are available for round 2? And 2 ways. One is with a quick and easy map that we will provide shortly before June 3rd that will identify the areas that were picked up in round 1 and the areas that are left for round 2. but also for applicants who are approved and completed that pre-registration, beginning June 3rd is when you'll get in and see exactly what project areas and BSLs are available. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Jason, and I'm going to stop sharing here so that Jason can share his screen.
Thank you, Kelly.
And again, Jason is going to navigate us through the portal itself. That's the BEAD Grantor portal. I will put the link in the chat. So if you all are working on pre-registration, that's what you'll see. But he's going to show us the actual application or actual pre-registration portions as well.
Apologies, I'm finding the right screen here. One moment.
I always have the same problems.
Can you see my screen? All good.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. So I thought I'd begin with step one. Some of you may have already taken this step if you have been interacting with the Arizona Commerce Authority on BEAD-related topics at all. But the first thing that you will have to do if you haven't done so already is really just register for general access to the portal. There are links around the Arizona Commerce Authority to this registration page from the ACA's website. But step one is really just a simple form where you give some basic information about your organization. And I'm going to just fill out some phony information here. This is a test server. And as Kelly mentioned earlier, your registrations as tribal entities will differ a little bit from the typical provider. When you encounter any question that asks for your provider name, you can select Other, which is at the bottom of the list. And for your provider name, you can just enter a name that you'd like your organization to be referred to as. Some tribal entities do operate as a provider and might have a provider ID as far as the FCC is concerned. If so, you can enter that here. But if you do not, that is fine. Just check no and provide a simple explanation, tribal entity. Then we have the question, are you a tribal entity? Yes. And then the remainder of the questions are your employee identification number, FCC registration number if you have it, and address. After all of the required fields are filled out, you submit this form, and that information goes into the Arizona Commerce team for a review. It will take them a number of business days, but not very long at all, to review your submission and grant you access to the portal. When that happens, you will receive an email that has a simple link over to the portal. And the link in the email actually also acts as your login, so you shouldn't have to create a password, although you'll be able to if you want to. But you just click into the portal from the email and you'll see a page like this. A couple things that I'll point out that you may find useful is that if you are working with some teammates that you would like to collaborate with, you can invite any number of your teammates to join you. And that is simply an opportunity to add in the name of your teammate and their email, and that would send that person an email invitation to access your account on the ACA portal. Okay, a couple things here on the homepage. The first step is what we're here to talk about today. That's pre-registration, and we'll spend some more time here on this demo. But this is also your home base for any information or updates that happen throughout the whole BEAD program. You can also update your profile information by coming into this view and editing any of the information you've submitted. Also submit, update your pre-registration. And once we move ahead and you've begun submitting BEAD funding applications, those will also be accessible from the same page. So let's go into the pre-registration. And this is what you're going to see. It's just a series of questions that the state needs to capture some information from you to certify that you're an entity that is qualified to participate in the BEAD application process and capture that BEAD funding. Each of these sections will give you a little bit of an indication of which fields are required. Anything with a red star is a required field, which means this form will require some information from you in order to allow you to proceed. And you'll see a number of fields like this, which asks you to upload a document or a screenshot or something from your hard drive. You can just click this box, find the file on your desktop or in your computer directory, or you can just drag and drop the file from a window. You can add a single file or select multiple files at once if you'd like. Like that. At any time, any given time, if you make a mistake or upload the wrong file or a duplicate, you can delete the file from here using this trash can icon, or return at any time and download a copy of any of the files that you might have submitted to your pre-registration application or the BEAD application when you get to that point. So as I click through these, you'll notice that progress gets tracked. So the first step, certifications, is done. I've got this green check mark here, and I can proceed. So I notice that this is the only required field on this page. So I'm just going to select that one. And again, you'll just see that I'm moving through these subsections, and they are the system is letting me know when I've completed those steps. As you move through the sections, there's different categories. And here are the subcategories. So as soon as I complete this section, I'll get one of those nice green indicators up at the top stating that, that I'm done with this section. And by clicking next, it moves me into the next section, which is managerial capabilities. Really in the pre-registration, that is pretty much everything that you can expect. Obviously, the details of what the question is asking for, might trigger some questions that you have for the state broadband office, or here at being part of the software vendor, we are always here to answer any technical questions that you might have. And there is a technical support email address that is made available through the ACA website and other how-to documentation. One last thing that I'll show you is you might see little instructions, links like this one here that will provide some additional information about how to answer this particular question. And so you'll see those in a variety of different places. And when you encounter them, just provides a bit more helpful text on how to finish the step. Once you're done with the filling out all of the questions through all of the sections, this final button will activate and you'll be able to click it. You won't be able to click this button, this submit pre-registration button, until you've got green checks everywhere that requires it. This final page gives you a complete summary of the entire pre-registration application. So you can review it on a single page if you need to. And you can also download a PDF of this document if you choose to. And what you'll get is just a PDF document for your own records that is essentially just a copy of everything that you see here. The last thing is we do have this link here to save your application, so you can save your work up to a particular point, come back at a later time when you have some more time to finish, and you can pick up right where you left off. I will say you do not have to click this button. Anytime you click a next button, it saves your work also. So really, this is just an extra safeguard that if you happen to be in the middle of one of these steps and want to save your work while you're in the middle of a section, you can click that link and be sure that all of your work is saved and will be there for you when you return to the portal.
Jason, I have a quick question on that.
Yeah.
So for instance, if an applicant is in here, does the Control S shortcut thing work in here or no?
That's a good question. I will test that right now. Our developers may have put that in. Nope, the
Okay.
Control S does not work.
Okay. And then you had mentioned the next button means it will automatically save. What if you type in a lot of information on a page and then you hit the back button? Do you
If you
lose
hit it back,
everything?
so no, you won't lose everything if you hit the back button. It'll still be in there, but you don't want to log out. That's a good question. I'm sorry, I'm gonna actually find one and we're gonna test that. Okay. So it will keep it, so the back button does also capture any work that
Okay.
you've submitted. So either of
Thank
these
you.
do act as a save. Yes.
Yeah, I can just see the cringes if it didn't save, like, oh shoot, I just hit the wrong button. Okay.
Good question. And really, you're going to see just checkboxes, short fields, and these, text boxes, and uploads for you to attach the requested documents. Are there any other questions I can answer about the pre-registration part of the portal?
There aren't any in the Q&A. But if, we want to be as flexible as possible. So if, for instance, somebody's on their phone, they're not able to use the Q&A, you can certainly unmute and ask your question if needed. Okay. So Jason, I will say that right now there's no questions on this.
Okay. And of course, we're here for questions, any questions that you might encounter when you actually sit down and start filling this application out.
Great, thank you. So I did put the email into the chat for the help desk, but I will say one thing that if you are having problems as you're using the portal, you can also send that to the broadband office and we will get it ready to help with that. So if it comes to us, if it comes to them, no matter what, we will get it to the right person. Just want you to let somebody know as soon as possible. Doesn't matter who, and we will help get it to the right place for sure. All right, I am going to start sharing my screen here. Okay, so are you seeing the orange slide in the slideshow? Thank you. All right, so before I move off this particular page, questions about the portal can go to Ready directly. It's the AZ Help Desk at ready.net. And then also you can send questions to us. So again, that broadband at azcommerce.com, that's the email that you want to save and remember. So as you're going through this process, any questions, it goes to that inbox monitored by the office so that you can get a response. We can look at what the issue is and then get that answer together and respond to you. So those are the two email addresses you'll want, but the most important one is that broadband at azcommerce.com. All right, thanks again, Jason. Okay, so now we're going to dig into some details about the pre-registration itself and what you can expect. As we saw there with Jason, there are a number of checkboxes where you are certifying information. So the pre-registration process is a time to, it's different than the application. This is a time where you are able to gather the information and learn about the information that's being requested so that you have an idea of the requirements of the application. So you can gather that information, determine what information is needed so that you have an idea of the things that are going to be needed that you need to understand and even provide for the application. And even moving past that, if you were to be selected as a subgrantee, some of that information is not needed until it's time to sign that subgrantee contract. So again, this is providing you information about the whole entire process so that you have an awareness of what's needed, soup to nuts, essentially. All right, so pre-registration is the mandatory step. In order to get to that application, you've got to complete the pre-registration. And it is, I would say it's time consuming. It is a lot of information that is in there that you're certifying. And some information that you'll need to provide as well. And the goal of this, number one, is to make sure that potential applicants are informed and understand what they're getting into, what they're signing up for. But this is also where us as an agency, the State Broadband Office, can go through to determine and look at the information you're providing as far as the capability to implement. If you were to be selected as a subgrantee, do you have the financial capacity, the technical capacity, managerial, operational? And these are all items that are determined by that BEAD NOFO. So as a state, representing the state and certifying to NTIA, we need to be able to say, yes, these applicants did demonstrate this capacity and can move forward. So you've got these two phases here. Phase one was market sounding in this pre-registration phase. So again, this is where we are collecting that information and trying to assess the demand and the interest, but also the capacity of the applicants. And then phase two after this, so after your pre-registration, will be the application itself. And round two applications will be, round one was focused primarily on fiber. So round two will be the alternate technology, may include some fiber as well, but also the areas that were not picked up in round one. So any areas that are advancing to round two will be included in this portal. And when you get into the application, you'll see all the BSLs and information in the portal as for your applications. Okay, let's move forward. So the general requirements here, like these are the basic criteria that are needed to complete the pre-registration and move forward to that application. So these are the specific conditions that we're asking everyone, and it's not just Arizona, this is every state per the BEAD NOFO. So we're asking potential applicants, they have to confirm their ability to be able to carry out the duties and the activities that are funded through BEAD as a subgrantee. And again, demonstrating that financial and managerial capacity to fulfill these obligations. So again, it's $1 billion. We're not giving that $1 billion to one particular entity, but that money is being divided up based on project areas and applications. And we want to make sure then we have to certify and be satisfied as a state that each eligible applicant is going to be able to meet the obligations. And then lastly, that third circle there is demonstrating the technical and operational capacity to deliver on the services that are promised with the grant. So we will dig into what these details look like more here. Again, as we're going, please input your questions into the Q&A. If the Q&A is not an option for you, feel free to unmute and start speaking so I know that you've got a question and we can call on you. I want to make sure questions are answered. And especially with the tribal nations and communities, you know, things are different, and we want to make sure that we are understanding your needs, your concerns, and see what we can do to support in that. All right, so first one that we'll look at is the financial capability. So again, this is a certification process. As you're going through the pre-registration, you're clicking I certify a lot. There are also documents that we are requesting. So in the financial area, we are asking applicants to certify that you are financially qualified to meet the obligations, and that you have the available funds to adhere to the program. So there, we're looking for a signed statement from an authorized executive. So that signed statement could come from an executive from your enterprise, from your tribal government, and this is required to certify that financial piece. Then there are audited financial statements. So here, if you have audited financial statements, and again, as a tribal government, you may or may not have this. You're doing things according to your tribe, to your sovereign needs. And so here is where, you know, we're looking for the 3 years of audited statements according to the BEAD NOFO. And if those are not available, then we're looking for unaudited information, which I think, if I'm correct here, would be like a full year of statements. And that would then be, if the unaudited information is not available, that would then be kind of on a case-by-case basis. So the big thing here is we want to make sure that you are, if you are interested in applying for BEAD, that you are starting this pre-registration process. As questions come up, you can email the broadband office. You can ask those questions here so that we can understand the specific needs of your tribal nation and community and address those. So as you're going through this, if there's something where you're like, I'm not sure I can provide this, that's where, reach out to us. Start the process so that we can have the conversation with you and understand what's happening. Let's see here. So again, the letters here and the information here is just certifying. So with the then moving into the third box here, the performance security. So we are asking applicants to certify your understanding that you will need to provide performance security later in the process. And that security would be either a commitment letter, a letter of credit to demonstrate that you can meet that 25% match, or a surety letter for acceptable bonds. So if you look here on the right side, you've got the letter of credit. We're kind of explaining what that is. And then there are 3 ways to get to that letter of credit. So you can do that if, for instance, if your tribe uses a credit union, it could be through the credit union, it could be a performance bond, or it could be kind of a combination of a letter of credit or performance bond there. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I know that this particular area has caused some concern for tribes. Again, we want to have this conversation. We want to understand the concerns. And the only way we can know that is if you start this process and then start asking those specific questions. We are trying to adhere to the BEAD NOFO, not because we have to legally. And we need to make sure that the requirements for the finances are meeting and satisfying the state's needs so that we can then certify to NTIA that, yes, this entity has demonstrated the financial capacity. So these are the first slide of 2 for that financial capability. I do want to make room for questions. Again, you can unmute if needed or put them into the Q&A. Okay, second slide here. on the financial capability. So we've got material changes in financial condition. So we're looking for a detailed summary of any changes in financial conditions that have occurred or might occur. It might kind of feel like looking into a crystal ball, but we know that financial conditions change. So we're looking for the 3 most recent years, and then expectations for the next fiscal year as well. And then a credit rating. So this is where we've listed here examples of where you can get your credit rating, the agencies, the S&P Global, Moody's, Fitch Ratings, and then bankruptcy or insolvency. So if this is something that the tribe has experienced, we are asking for a summary of information on, any current or previous bankruptcy events, and we're looking within the last 3 fiscal years. And then lastly, the one on the right here is the failure to perform. So I think somebody might have unmuted. Here we're looking for back to January of 2019. If the tribe has received a grant, particularly a broadband deployment grant, and defaulted on it, that's information that we would want to know about. So we are asking for kind of a narrative here to explain what it is, which grant it was, and the circumstances around that. All right. I'm pausing awkwardly for any questions. And also want to make room if Okasana or Keith or anyone, if there's information here that I've missed, please feel free to chime in.
No, Kelly, you're doing really great. And I do
Okay.
encourage any questions. Nothing else from me. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Managerial capability. So I mentioned this before, there are 4 areas we're looking for: the finances, the managerial, the technical, the operational. And the managerial here, so this is us to be able to learn us. When I say us, this generates and originates from the BEAD NOFO. Looking to learn about your organization. How is it organized? What is that organizational chart? So we're asking for org charts, and I think we saw in round 1 that not everybody has an org chart. So we're looking for you to provide information in the best way that you can. So here we're giving you several ideas of and ways of doing that and what exactly is needed. But again, as you get into this, ask those questions. You can even give us a call. We'll plug the phone number into the chat. I think a lot of you have connection with Okasana. You can reach out to her as well. If there's one takeaway from today's webinar, I would ask that it be that if you have any question, please reach out to us with those questions. Just start the pre-registration and reach out right away with those questions. Start it sooner rather than later, and let us be available to help answer those questions and remove any barricades that we can help with. So back to the managerial, looking for the org charts, and include like the personnel within the organization who are likely to have a role in this broadband project. Qualifications. So here we're looking for any past broadband projects that your enterprise has participated in. Resumes for key management. So we're looking for 1-page resumes that you would include here. And this would include the key players. So for instance, who's handling the money, and the technical aspect, and who is managing, who's a project manager, and then an explanation of the roles and responsibilities. So as you get into this and you're figuring out how this is going to be implemented, you'll be thinking about the roles and the responsibilities of those who are playing a part of this BEAD implementation. And we need like a comprehensive narrative of that. And then organizational readiness. So highlight your relevant experience. Here we are looking to know, have you done this before? And if you have, great, provide us those details so that you're painting a picture of what it is that you've done, the experience that you have, and how this is going to help you be successful with implementing BEAD. And if this is something that is new, we're looking for that plan. What is the plan for you to be able to implement this successfully? So we're looking to make sure that, thought has been put into this, and you are aware of all the aspects that are needed and what's included, and that you've got a plan for those things. And then the narrative on managerial readiness. So this is demonstrating anyone who's affiliated with the program and managing that, demonstrating their capability to manage this broadband network. So we want to highlight again the experience, the qualifications, um, and then also any significant organizational changes. So we're looking here to get an idea of the history and the experience of the entity that is applying. Don't see any questions, so I'm going to move forward. Technical capability, same thing. We're looking for understanding the capacity that the entity has. So here we're asking for certification. So again, a lot of this is going to be those check boxes. So you're going to be certifying, technical qualifications. And then we're looking for details about the skilled and credentialed workforce. So we're asking to certify the technical qualifications, the workforce, the employment of the certified personnel, and then maintenance of any required credentials and licenses throughout the life of the project. And that can be with the certification in the pre-registration, but also a signed statement will be required by an executive for the organization. And then your contractor selection process, that's that middle box there. And potential applicants have to detail their contractor selection process. And if this is something you have done in the past, you might have a process that you are using, kind of a standard operating procedure. And we're looking for those details, like what has the process been, specify those specific skills, the certifications, the qualifications, and the training programs for those roles. And if this is something that your entity has not done in the past, that's okay. We're just looking for the plan moving forward. So, a narrative to tell us like, we haven't done this before, but this is our plan. We are ready for this. Here's how we're going to do it. And then the last box there on the right, the appropriately skilled and credentialed workforce. Applicants and contractors have to outline the steps to ensure that the projects are going to be executed by a skilled and credentialed workforce. And there you want to include details about safety training, licenses, certifications, the details of what is happening and how essentially your workforce is trained and how they will stay trained throughout the life of this particular project. Pausing for questions. Again, you can unmute. You can put them into I'll take them in the chat. Whatever is easiest for you. I just want to make sure that questions are getting answered. Okay. All right. The fun stuff, the compliance with applicable laws. So the first one here, we need your entity to attest and confirm that you understand the laws and that you have been in compliance with those laws. So here we've kind of outlined what that is, a description of your established processes, the procedures, protocols that are in place to make sure that you are in compliant with the laws. And then if there have been any issues in the past, we would need details of that. So again, you can provide a narrative and explain if by chance the laws weren't complied with, then there's an opportunity to describe and tell us, just describe what it is that was happening. And then the same thing for the safety and health requirements. So similar to the applicable laws, we want to make sure that the safety and health requirements are being met and that you are or will be in compliance. So this is to understand how you ensure that compliance and how to maintain that compliance. I think that's it. And then at the bottom, you'll note that it says there that if you're unable to provide information on behalf of your entity or your contractors, subcontractors, then you can provide an explanation. So throughout this process, we are encouraging sharing more details, help us understand and paint that picture for us and provide those details where you can. There are options to provide those narratives, and that is what is helpful to us as we go through this process. All right, operational capability. So here we're looking for evidence that you have been in this space before. And again, if you haven't, that's okay. But we're looking for, if you have been in it for at least 2 years, we're looking for that story for you to demonstrate the experience and how you have been operating. And if you are new to this, instead of an operational history, then we're looking for you to give us that narrative to make sure that the capacity is there to take this on. So within here, so there's the history of the operations. Again, the history part, that's for the existing entities, those who have been operating in the broadband space and providing this service. So that's for existing 2+ years. And then same thing with that blue one at the top, that is for the existing providers only. So that's a certification of compliance with FCC, only for those who are existing providers. If you are new to this space, then you're going to follow that green box for the new providers. And that's where we're looking for you to prove the operational capacity through your own resources, through others. And this is, we give examples of what that proof can look like there. All right, still pausing for questions. And if questions pop up, Okasana or Keith, and I miss it, please let me know. Okay. Okay, ownership information. So this is straight from the BEAD NOFO. And as a tribe, this may or may not apply to tribes. Tribal governments, they are sovereign nations. That might look different for you. And so again, what we're looking for here is for you to tell us what applies to you and to your tribe and what it is that you can provide. So we're looking for this information from you where you can tell us the narrative and tell us here how you can provide this information. And so here we've got, a number of ways that that can be done, but there might be ways that are not listed on here that apply more specifically or more accurately to your tribe. So again, this is where we're looking for those questions. Start the pre-registration process. If you haven't started it, start it as soon as you can. Start bouncing through the pages to see what those questions are. And then you can reach out to us with questions. So if looking at your tribal government and seeing what that ownership looks like, and it doesn't match this, again, we're looking to you to help us understand and build that story so we understand what it looks like for you and how you can provide that documentation. Okay, public funding information. So for anyone who is applying for the BEAD funding, we are asking for a list of any public funding that you have been a recipient of, especially for broadband deployment. So we've got examples here of what that might look like. And we're looking to learn, so these are our previously publicly funded programs that you have administered. So this is where you would tell us about those. And these are broadband specific. So that information is a part of this process as well. Okay, fair labor practices, highly skilled workforce. So same with following the applicable laws. Here we need to follow fair labor practices. And the highly skilled workforce. So we're looking for the certification at this point in time. So if you look at these 2 bullet points here, we're looking to demonstrate that record of compliance. And you're going to certify in the pre-registration that the potential applicants, so including contractors, subcontractors, to submit documented and signed evidence of compliance with the federal and state labor laws for the past 3 years. So same with the finances, we're looking for the past 3 years. Here, we're looking for fair labor practices for the past 3 years. For contractors and subcontractors and the applicants. If there is non-compliance, if that's something that might need to be shared, you can share that documentation and the outcome. Again, you can provide a narrative to provide an explanation as to what the situation was and what the outcome was. And then also demonstrate how you will maintain that compliance moving forward. And if you don't have contractors and haven't had them, same thing, supplying that plan so that you can establish how you will maintain compliance moving forward. Okay, environmental and national historical preservation. I think a lot of this relates to permitting and following permitting laws. Again, this can be very different for sovereign nations. So we are looking here for you to tell us what essentially you will comply with based on the rules, the laws for your tribal nation and community. And again, this is a checkbox certification. And so here we want everybody to be in compliance. And so, these are the types of things that are a part of the BEAD implementation. So, we've got the State Historical Preservation Act, we have NEPA, and then also NHPA. So there are a number of things here. We want to certify that as a tribal sovereign nation, there is an understanding of what these are. But again, I and the state understand that this is often different with tribal nations. So again, we're looking here and for you to provide that narrative to us to help paint that picture and help us understand what this would look like for your specific project area. All right, Build America, Buy America, the BABA Act. So here is again another checkbox certification, and there's also room for adding a narrative here as well. But here, this is, making sure that the materials that are purchased and used to implement the infrastructure, to build the infrastructure and implement the BEAD program, that the materials are purchased in America, so it's built here and bought here. And then it does say here the waiver. So potential applicants have the option to seek an exemption from the federal awarding agency if you believe there's a justified reason for the waiver. So there are three types of waivers: public interest, non-availability, and unreasonable cost. So as you're going through this pre-registration and on this page, in particular, you'll be looking at those types of waivers that are available and certifying to the BABA Act here. So you'll certify that you will commit to it and comply with it. And then also you'll provide your narrative of your approach, like your plan for how you will comply with the Build America, Buy America Act. Okay, still not seeing any questions, but I will stop everything if you have one. Okay, here we're looking at the cybersecurity and supply chain risk management compliance. So we've got two different types of compliance here. We'll start with the blue on the left side of the screen, the cybersecurity. And so here you will be certifying and submitting cybersecurity management plans. And you'll do that in pre-registration or the project application stage. And here what we're looking for are a few things. The operational status. So there needs to be a cybersecurity risk plan. I see a question. I'll get to it in a second. So you've got to have that cybersecurity risk management plan in place before the grant is awarded. If you're not providing services, then you have to demonstrate a readiness to operationalize that plan before you provide that service. So if you are an existing entity and you're providing the service already, we need to see that plan that's been approved and is in place. And if you are a new provider and you will be starting with the BEAD funds, then we need to see the plan that will be used once you start. All right, so thank you for this question. I'm just stopping here to address it because I'm excited. The first one we've gotten. So this is Lombardo. I might be getting ahead of myself, but I have a question regarding the BSLs. For application round 2, BSL served by round 1 will not be eligible to apply. Where can we find the BSLs served by round 1 or available BSLs for application round 2? So great question. Lombardo, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. That will be June 3rd when the application window opens. That's when you will actually be, so right now when you go into pre-registration into the portal, you can only see the pre-registration. And then once you are approved and that application window opens, that's when you will have access to all the maps. And you can see that the BSLs, what was picked up in round 1, what's available in round 2. And I yield to all of my colleagues to add any additional information if I'm missing anything here.
No, I
Okay,
think that's right, Kelly.
perfect. Thank you. Okay, so moving on with the cybersecurity risk management plan. Then the second bullet point here is the NIST framework. And I believe, so here it says it must be based on the latest available framework from NIST, which I believe is the February 2024 version 2. But if you go to NIST's website, it's right there. And then security and privacy controls. So this is Executive Order 14028. And you have to specify the particular security and privacy controls that are being implemented, and evaluation and updates. So have an established process for periodic evaluation and assessment, and ensure that the plan will be reviewed and updated regularly. So again, this is the cybersecurity risk management plan that providers and applicants have to provide. And then next to it, we've got the supply chain risk management. So again, a lot of this pre-registration is demonstrating that there are plans in place, that you are ready to implement this program, and that you have the plans in place and that you're ready to go. So here with the supply chain, same kind of thing, the operational status, excuse me. You've got to have that risk management plan in place. Hold on. Bear with. So you've got to have that SCRM, that risk management plan in place before it's awarded, if you're already providing those services. If you are new to those services, same thing as before, you've got to have your plan in place to demonstrate how you will manage things. And then the key practices and guidance here, oops. Got it. They have to be described and based on the NIST publication, key practices in cyber supply chain risk management. So again, as you're going through this, these details are provided in that pre-registration. You can find all the information you need here. But that plan overall should clearly specify the risk management controls that will be implemented. And then same thing with the evaluation and the updates. You want to address how those are regularly being reviewed and updated. And if you have changes that are made to your plan, then you can submit that new version to the Commerce Authority within 30 days. All right. Okay, so I see another question, which is perfect because I think that was the last slide. Okay, so this is Lobardo. Thanks for the clarification. We already have pre-registration approved. Could you please let me know where is the map to see the eligible BSLs from round 2? Okay, sorry, Lobardo. I did not make that clear. So June 3rd is when it will open. That's when you'll be able to see it. So we can't get anybody in there because we're still finalizing things. So June 3rd is the day that that map will be visible. I hope that helps. Okay, awesome. I really appreciate those questions. Are there any others? I will remind everybody, this is the email, broadband@azcommerce.com. I think I said before I would put our phone number in the chat. Any questions? Anything that you need? This is the phone number for the broadband office. Let me make sure I typed that correctly. Yes. I think that, again, the big thing for tribal nations and communities is we really want to encourage submitting applications. So start that pre-registration now, and so that you can get to the point of submitting that application. There are a lot of conversations that we can have with you only after that application is submitted. And we want to be able to have those conversations because each tribe is unique, and we want to make sure that your needs are being met, that the households are getting connected, and we want to do whatever we can that's possible to ensure that we have that universal connectivity. Our goal is universal connectivity, and we can only start having conversations about how we can do that on a detailed level with tribes after an application is submitted. So the pre-registration is the first step to get there. Just start with it, ask questions, submit your narratives, your information, do what you can to express from your tribe's perspective, and demonstrate things as best you can in that pre-registration and get it submitted. And then at that point, we can work with you on that pre-registration and that will open up the door for the application. Essentially what I'm saying here is just get your foot in the door, start the process so that you can get to that application. And once that application is submitted, we can start having conversations on a more detailed level. We are in procurement, so it's difficult to be able to do that on a general level, on a general basis, because everybody has their proprietary information. But once the applications are submitted, that's when we can have individual conversations. All right, so for those on the call, I'll just call out everybody. If Nick or EJ, Okasana, Keith, even Iris and Divya, if there are things I missed or other things you'd like to emphasize, please take it away.
I think you covered it all.
Thanks, Divya.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing else for me to add. Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, same here, Kelly.
Okay, and of course, I know the group has been pretty quiet, but if there are questions, you can put them here now. You can email us, you can call us. We just really want to start, making sure that don't want to start making sure. We want to make sure you have what you need to start this process. We don't want any delays or anything on our end. So start the process, reach out, and let us help where we can. All right, well, I'm not going to continue saying the same thing over and over like I have for the past 5 minutes, so we can call it.
Sorry, Kelly, I have one
Yes.
more thing to add. Just for those of us who are online, and for tribes, we do have another webinar coming up on Wednesday. I'm sorry, next Tuesday, May 13th. So we encourage, for you to go ahead and spread that word, encourage others to apply that could, to attend that next webinar on Tuesday the 13th.
I'll put that link in the chat too. There is one more for tribes, as Okasana said, next Tuesday. So if you have questions that come up between now and then, feel free to join then, and we can answer those questions at that time. All right.